Okay, we are live for a Monday edition of the People's Talk Show. Excited to connect. Looking forward to plugging in and finding out what's on your radar. As always, it is the People's Talk Show. So looking forward to getting a chance to connect with you and hear from you directly. And I want to definitely give you guys a chance to let your voice be heard when the phone lines open up. Number 313-462-0027. The numbers to call, let your voice be heard. And also, for those that might be new to the community, let me know where you're watching from via the chat, and I would love to acknowledge your presence and welcome you to the fold. All right, so on my end, as always, trying to put together some last-minute visual ways to kind of highlight one story I'm going to touch on, but there's more stories than I can ever even imagine touching on, so that's why I rely upon you guys in the community to bring some interesting topics to the table. So feel free to put in the chat, or when the phone lines open up, call in, let me know what you keep an eye on. Of course, make it relevant to what we're experiencing in this whole global fiat, this mess that we're all experiencing. But anyway, hope everyone's doing well. If you don't mind, for those that are plugged in right now, hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. Hopefully, a few more people are notified so that they can join us and get a chance to hang out with us on air. All right, so let me just check in real quick, and I'll go through a couple articles and go from there. But we got Rokeen checking in. We got Mr. James checking in. We got Ed. We got Spare at Dime. We got Creole the Traveler in FEMA Region 5. We have Jeff from South Georgia. We got Renee. It says Bitcoin heading 18,000. So sorry, guys. Yeah, it's anything's possible. Anything is possible. So unless you're actually actively trading and utilizing whatever formulas guys use to trade these days, anything is possible. We got Roger Rose. We got Lala checking in. We got Marley, if I'm not mistaken. Joanne is checking in as well. We got James, Will Smith, TB. Let me see here. What else? Patrick checking in. Ripcord Jr. Appreciate you, man. Says a cold region of Pennsylvania. We got Jeff checking in. All right, fair amount of people here. Katie from Odessa. Appreciate you guys. So, man, what a heck of a last couple of days due to a little travel schedule on my side. Wasn't able to connect the way I would like to, but here we are today. Want to make the best of our time. Clandestine syndicate. Yeah, appreciate you. So I want to just jump in. So what caught my attention amongst many other stories? We need Trump back. Yeah. I've watched some of those Trump rallies, and the more I just take a glimpse at those things, it's just, he's become, in my opinion, based upon what I'm seeing, more of a distraction and continuing the hopium and keeping people basically waiting and stalling and buying time, because literally 2024 is a long time away in comparison to the rate at which things are happening worldwide, to where between now and the next presidential election, if we have one, as I always say, I wouldn't hold my breath and thinking that he's going to be about, much change can really be done in such a time frame. But, we got people who are willing to put their hopes in a man. Yeah, more power to you. All right. Is ops now too. Yeah, so trust nobody, man. These cats out here are shady as can be. All right, so let me just jump in real quick. I want to share with you a little visual I put together, just because I personally don't follow too much on the military side of things, but I happen to have read through a little bit of a piece of legislation that is being voted on by the Senate, I think right about now, and it was pushed through by the House. So that lets me know that it's something that should definitely be talked about more. But Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense Minister, Secretary of Defense General, whatever, never really knew much about him, seen him before, but never dived into his background. But just want to highlight and shine light on what to me appears to be like today's deep state cabal puppet, and how basically at this current moment, if this Defense Act, Lend-Lease Defense Act bill gets full passage in both houses, then it's good to say it's unlimited funding for the Ukrainian crisis from here on out. And so if this bill is put forth and it passes in its entirety, it hasn't been enacted since World War II. And once again, nothing good comes from military conflict other than the continuous lining of the pockets of the military-industrial complex, which over the last 2 years has been kind of skinny, I'd imagine, because of all the liquidity provided to the pharmaceutical realm for all the health stuff underway. But anyway, we're going to dive in this, but just, put together some thoughts. And so I have, the Ukraine on one side, Russia on the other side, and in the middle, the U.S. Arms Force gentlemen here, and the Pentagon basically funding to the tune of billions military equipment to Ukraine. So every single time the U.S. military arms foreign nations, it's just a waste of taxpayer funds, even though they know, I know, none of that stuff is really going to be paid back. But it's just the fact that billions of dollars are being poured into fight bankers' conflicts. And we have more than enough issues here in the homeland to take care of, but yet it's not of importance because they have to continue to do the things they do, disrupting world order, being the bully around the world, all disguised as bringing democracy, taking down dictators and everything else in between. But just putting together some of the things here. So not too well versed on the military equipment side of things. So I actually Googled some of the anti-missile things and some of the other equipment that's going to be sent over there. So to the left, right on the Pentagon sign there's a couple U.S. military vehicles or whatnot that's being sent over there. And of course, we got on the other side of that, we got the S-400, those type of things I'm not necessarily used to, but I've seen enough pictures of those things that come out of Russia. So they have more than enough what appears to be extremely sophisticated military equipment over there. So it's not going to be pretty whatsoever. All right, so let's keep moving. Let me just jump into some things that caught my attention. And let me see if I can pull it up here. But here we go right here. It says the Pentagon. Move this over. The Pentagon says its billion-dollar deliveries of military aid to Ukraine have never been done that fast. Oh, well, of course not. When you have all the paid puppet compromised politicians pumping for war, things get done mighty fast when they have interest in the proceeds that's being sent out. So anyway, just some things that caught my attention here. Just the numbers is sheer. It says the latest aid worth $100 million was announced on Tuesday. This was as of last week. So these are some articles I was able to get to last week to start off with, and then we'll get into whatever else you guys want to touch on. But it says the billions of dollars in security assistance, including weaponry that the U.S. has delivered to Ukraine in recent weeks, have arrived at an unprecedented speed. It says the following $300 million package of security assistance announced on April 1st and an $800 million package announced on March 16th. In total, that's $1.7 billion in security assistance. How do you use the word security assistance when those funds will never be recouped or never be repaid? And then it says to Ukraine since Russia's invasion began on February 24th, and more than $2.4 billion since the Biden administration took office. So we all know that the big guy, as he's called in the crime circle, referring to Joe Biden, how there's more and more stories coming out nowadays, basically highlighting how corrupt and how twisted things are with the amount of funds. So more than a good portion of these billions end up in the pockets, as well as in the companies that all of these corrupt politicians and special interest groups and banksters and you name it are all invested in it because it's their companies, it's their property, it's their operations. So they're legally funneling money back into their own hands, disguised as aid to Ukraine. And then, of course, if you see this Zelensky guy, he's had photo ops. This guy is like walking around like a celebrity. And of course, he's like an actor. So it's like, how can you take this stuff serious? You really can't. It's hard to do so. But anyway, a couple more articles here. U.S. is giving intel to Ukraine for operations in Donbass. And so this is how I started looking into this, the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, just because he's the front man to all the Pentagon's operations, because he's pretty much in charge of the Department of Defense in a sense. And so it's just amazing how at this current moment, people with melanin in their skin are being brought to the forefront and being leaders in this current administration, whether it be the new Supreme Court Justice, the defense secretary, and everybody else that's, part of the cabinets or whatnot. And I understand on their end, it's probably a career move. But from my perspective, it's like, man, like, you're a pawn, literally, like you're a pawn, and you're being used, and it looks bad to me, just because I'm trying to see things from a much broader viewpoint, not other than just, the here and now. I'm thinking about how things will shape out long term, and it's definitely not going to fare well for the people who allow themselves to be used, I guess, for the sake of a dollar bill or a career or a little boost on your resume. Who knows? Tony B. Tony B says Zelensky does interviews in New Balance shoes. Yeah, Zelensky is an oligarch. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the crime syndicate, both in D.C. as well as in Ukraine and Russia and China, it goes so deep. It goes much deeper than we'll probably ever know. That's why I love staying plugged into the alternative media sources where people, they dive down rabbit holes. They put their tinfoil hat on and they put together the pieces of the puzzle with names and figures and stats. And whether it's true or not, who knows? Because at this current moment, everything that comes across the internet, you have to take with a grain of salt. Even the stuff that comes across my radar, I'm very suspicious of it. So I don't try not to dive too deep down the rabbit hole with that stuff. But just want to talk about things I think is relevant to what's going on. But here is that information I was referring to. It says U.S. Senate votes to resurrect the World War II era policy to help Ukraine. So here's the biggest thing with that headline. They're resurrecting something that hasn't been done in over 70 years or so, and they're doing it for a puppet nation called Ukraine. And this has nothing to do with the U.S. national security or interests outright. But yet, nobody seems to really be pitching a fit. And of course, the left and the right tend to somehow, some way, they always manage to find the votes they need to push forward this reset globalist type of crap here. It's just, it is what it is. But give you an idea, and I'll dive in a little bit to the act, and then I'll open the phone lines. But it says the Ukraine Democracy Defense. Just look at the titles, man. The Ukraine Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022 passed the Senate by vote last Wednesday. The bill aims to provide enhanced authority for the president to enter into agreements with the government of Ukraine to lend or lease defense articles to the government to protect civilian populations and Ukrainian from Russian military. So once again, how can you lend or lease these defensive assets when that country has nothing of value other than real world resources to offer us or to pay us back? But then again, you got the big guy taking care of his interests. I'm hearing stories about how there's actual like property owned by the Biden crime syndicate in Ukraine. Not sure, I haven't confirmed none of that, but it's just stuff I hear on the social media sphere. And so it wouldn't surprise me one bit that all this funding happens to be protecting his own interests as well as his colleagues' interests in the Ukrainian area. And it has nothing to do with the people, of course, but they put the right actors in place to promote their agenda. But what's most alarming to me is that by the U.S. enacting something that hasn't been done since World War II, that puts the U.S. dead smack in the middle of what will probably continue to escalate into a much greater war, because ultimately with this Defense of Ukrainian Democracy Act, it's basically unlimited support for as long as Russia is labeled as an aggressor. And what do I mean by that? Let's just jump right into the bill here. So this is the Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act. That's just a lot right there. But ultimately, it says here, the waivers provided by this bill shall be in effect until 1, the conflict beginning with Russia's annexation of Crimea region of Ukraine in 2014 has ceased. So ultimately, as long as Crimea is under Russian control, which it has been since 2014, this is going to be available. And the second one is Russia has reduced its military forces on Ukraine's eastern border to the levels maintained prior to March 1st. So ultimately, March 1st is a time frame when Russia was supposedly went into those two different regions in the east. So that to me lets me know that Putin is not going to be leaving the Donbass or any of those eastern territories that are now, recognized sovereign lands by Russian government there. And he's definitely not giving back Crimea. So it's good to say this bill here will be an open-ended, unlimited slush fund of billions of dollars of taxpayer funds that will never be repaid, but will be used to funnel currency out of the U.S. into Ukraine, and we'll never see those funds again. It's just like poof. Once they sign this, it's gone. And so if we thought we had, no transparency on any of the current defensive spending budget and things like that, we ain't seen nothing yet, is what I'm getting at. So, but yet these are the actors, man, that are, portrayed as being political figures that care about our country. And Lloyd Austin, defensive secretary, being dead slap in the middle of this, is just unfortunate that, because he clearly knows what's going on. And when push comes to shove, if and when things go haywires, who gonna take the blame? It's gonna be the black guy, amongst all the other puppets that have decided to give their allegiance to the bankster cabal. So anyway, this is just something that caught my attention. I thought I would share my 2 cents on it. But anyway, let's talk, man. Lots of other things to touch on. Let's open up the phone lines, and I want to hear from you guys directly. As always, it is a People's Talk Show, so hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. Make sure you guys subscribe and stay plugged in. And when the phone lines open up or when videos are put out there, you guys can connect and let your voice be heard. And so let's jump on that. It says TB. All right, so I missed a couple calls. Let me see here. All right, refresh that. So yeah, give me a call. Let's talk. And on top of that, let's some other stories that just you just can't help but talk about stuff like that. But I'll get to that in 1 second. Let's get to some calls. I'm curious to hear and connect with you guys. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Mike, it's Barlight Broker from the internet.
Barlight Broker, what's going on, man? Give me a quick thought. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to give you a pat in the back and maybe give myself one in the back.
All right, go ahead. What's going on?
You for not calling me crazy when I was telling you about these food shortages years ago.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, there's a food shortage out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and it was kind of it was not necessarily predictable, but knowing that doing a self-prescribed reset and the announcement of the World Economic Forum's fourth industrial revolution and all the the corporate companies partnering with private governments and whatnot, deliberately wanting to starve out the people, it wasn't too hard to guess, really. But I get you. I get your point, though, man.
I'm telling you what, man, as long as we have these two political parties in charge and we don't band together as a country and as a people,
yeah,
we're doomed. When we let petty things like race and economics and things like that divide us, and that's what divides a lot of people.
Yeah.
When we let things like that get in the way, and you know what? It's always really funny when they say, "Don't tell anybody who you're voting for," and you don't have to show your ID for voting. I always want to keep like some loophole or something to this, so
yeah,
you never really pin down these votes to anybody.
Very true. Very true, man.
How long have they been talking about this voting thing since I've been alive?
Yeah.
Been voting issues. They couldn't get that right in 45 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's a problem that was never designed to be fixed, of course.
Correct. And Mike, you're so right when you say all these people are actors and things like that. I know not all of them are actors, but I do believe a lot of them are. And I think a lot of these people are controlled by the devil, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly.
Yeah. I would have to guess that they know. It's hard to not recognize and have discernment that your actions are not actually helping the majority, rather than you pledging your allegiance to a minority of individuals that's trying to orchestrate this. So I would assume you have to know that. So that's why I think, either you're corrupt as a politician or you're compromised. And that's two different distinctions there, like, because, I don't want to be harsh, but we know who the corrupt politicians are. They tend to be the extreme left, like the people who are lifelong politicians. They've been there since day one. They're a part of the problem. And then you have some of the newer politicians that came in preaching the libertarian, movement, constitution, patriot type of stuff. And they know what's going on, but then again, they don't want to, they can't go too far. They've been given permission to push back some. And those are the ones that are compromised, meaning that they're allowed to go 50-50. They go in and go out towards tough issues. They might push a couple buttons, but they'll never really come out with the truth. So those are only two types of politicians, in my opinion, that are out there. Like, there are no wholehearted, die for the people type of individuals out there, because they would have never got in. So that's just my opinion, though. But
do you like these congressional hearings they always put on C-SPAN, where they parade everybody in there, and all the politicians act tough and like they're hard, and ask them all these so-called hardball questions, and then nothing ever happens.
Right. He's just like, dude,
trouble, waste all that time, and not a damn thing ever happens.
100%. And that's the thing. Like, you'll have that one compromised individual that talks bad, talks big, calls them out. The mainstream media says, "Oh, such and such grill, such and such," and then nothing. Yeah. It's like, dude, like, okay, what was the point of grilling? Like, you could have stayed at home. You had to show up for that. But hey, man, I appreciate you, man. Let me get some more calls in. Good to hear your voice, buddy.
You have to remember one thing. If there's anything positive out of all this, they always keep the dry cleaners busy. They do nothing else.
Right. They do look. They stay clean in their suits and everything else, man. Appreciate you, man.
All right, have a good day. God bless you.
Yep, same to you, buddy.
Bye.
Yeah, good stuff, man. All right, let me acknowledge Mr. Keenan. Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the blessing. It says, 6 years ago, I first heard your interview with Rubino. Your truth seekers knew what was up back then. Your family might keep teaching. Hey, man, Kay, I appreciate you, my man. Yeah, it's been a long journey, man, of trying to, educate myself by connecting with people who live in this, this space here, and along the way trying to bring people who want to plug in along with me just to learn. It's all about education, man. And I know for myself, I'm a lot wiser. Spiritually, but also in a natural sense, having been able to connect with a lot of smart individuals that are a lot older than me too. Like, that's the best part about it, being able to connect with people that's like, my grandparents' age. Like, that's beautiful, man, because I just love, being able to learn from older individuals that have been there, done that. So it's my pleasure, man, to connect with you as well as the community. So thank you for the love offering, my friend. Thanks. All right, let's keep talking. So what else? Give me a call or just throw out some subjects and we'll jump on it. Let me jump on this one right here, if I can find it. I think this is going to be something that will definitely get more people's attention moving forward. Mortgage rates. So I see more commentators now talking about how refinance applications slowing down. And even if you just probably wherever you located at, if you do a little Zillow, just as a broad base, viewpoint on what's happening in your neck of the woods. I've noticed this on my side here. From a year ago, when rates were a lot lower, there was a plethora of houses on the market at that time. And now that interest rates are moving up, a lot of people are not looking to sell. And then new home buyers are not really looking right now. So that spells trouble all around, because if people are not out here buying, spending, borrowing, then that right there will only continue the slowdown of the global of our economy. And this is just in the US, and it's happening every single country, especially in the G7, G20 nations where credit is available. So something has to give, and we know what will give. It will ultimately be the popping of the housing bubble, along with all the other bubbles that have been artificially inflated to get us to this point where the Federal Reserve, I don't think they're incompetent. I believe they're strategically doing exactly what they are being told to do. And it's my opinion, and I'm looking into this. I don't see the Federal Reserve coming into the rescue. So this QT process is underway with them looking to basically pull off the greatest heist in humanity by withdrawing all the support they've given for the last 10 plus years. That's deliberate. And they're literally going to starve the beast and watch the beast basically get to the point where it almost dies and it becomes fatal before it flatlines. They're not going to jump in like in prior years. And the reason I say that is because at this point, it'd be hard to pull off any type of reintroduction of asset purchases at the same time that they're fighting inflation. You can't fight inflation and continue to pump trillions of counterfeit currency into the system. And they've chosen not to support the system. And so they're going to let it crash. We're going to go through a deflationary depression for I don't know how long, because once all the asset prices correct to what would be considered fair market value, which is well below what everything is now, they're not going to come in and save the day, because they need as much pain and desperation to pull off the Great Reset to usher in the solely digital style currencies and surveillance systems and stuff like that. And they don't necessarily need to pump in trillions to do that. They can do that by coming out with their own version of the central bank digital currency. It just make all that stuff a lot easier, and it will be welcomed with open arms by the populace, just because of the sheer desperation that might be out there. And I don't think they're really concerned with losing control, because they will somehow, some way try to reinstate confidence back into the system by offering people the bare minimum of government subsistence, food. Mind you, there's bunkers. There's bunkers in the mountainous regions in the Midwest in particular, because I've seen videos, I'm sure you guys have as well, where you see those truck drivers delivering, the 18-wheelers delivering stuff nonstop over the last couple of years into mountains. They're driving in mountains. And I saw this one trucker had his cell phone camera recording it, and literally, based upon these huge doors that are under the mountains, that's where all those shipments are going. So they've been shipping resources, food, water, all types of things into those mountains. And there's literally, I can't confirm this, but I don't doubt that there's underground cities all throughout this country here that are probably stockpiled with food, resources, all types of stuff, that they'll use that as a way of trying to get people to cooperate solely by rationing things if it gets to that point where things are down and out and broken in entirety. So that's just a little rant. But anyway, let's get to some calls. Apologize for that. Let me see. I missed some calls. Let me get you on here in 1 second. Here we go. Hello, caller. Saying where you calling from?
Hello, this is Latrice calling from Brooklyn.
Latrice, what's going on with you? How you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Doing well. Give me a quick thought. What's in your mind?
Yes, I did get a chance to watch the Rob Kirby video that you someone, or I think it was you, that posted in your Telegram community.
Yeah,
page.
The short little snippet about his thoughts on what rethinking dollar means.
Exactly, and oh my goodness, the last time I tuned in with you, because I've been tuned out a little bit.
Yeah.
Of course, that makes sense, right? Because life goes on. But nonetheless, it's ironic that. Because it's ironic that because I haven't been able to keep up, right? And I try to tune in and read some articles. But the point is that when I saw that video, I already had started down the journey. And I think the last time I called, I had mentioned about learning how to correct your status, going from a debtor to a creditor, and this whole process, right? So it's ironic how everything has been about rethinking the dollar.
Right.
And everything he said, I just recently learned more in depth, right? More of the history behind it. So it's so interesting that the way everything is set up in our economy right now, it's literally backwards. It's literally backwards. It makes you have to rethink. Yeah. So our Constitution, there's U.S. codes, there's other types of laws that are on the books, there's Supreme Court cases that tells you that the money that we have what they call elastic money is not really anything, and that real money is gold and silver, and that there is a way that you can trade in your Federal Reserve notes and redeem gold or silver, mainly gold, and or how there's a way that there's a process that you can use to offset some of your debt and expenses. So I don't want to talk about that on air because there's other people that's a little more knowledgeable about that. But I just wanted to hit on that about what Kirby said. Yeah. And also the fact that for people that's out there that might be suffering with mortgages, I'm finding out that not mortgages, they're suffering with foreclosures. Because a lot of people are being scammed. Yeah. In the whole mortgage process, there is an agency that can help them, which is called the Consumer Federal Regulation Board. Okay. And there's a way that people can file complaints with them, and they can get them to investigate to see if the bank did anything fraudulent from the time they signed their loans. Because what I'm coming to learn is that usually when you sign your the closing agreement, the purchase and closing agreement, it's a unilateral contract. You're the only one signing, and then they take your promissory note, and then they're flipping it, and they're doing all types of business transactions on your money because the bank doesn't have any money to lend. They can't lend depositors money. Right. So what other money are they using? And then banks, they're not supposed to. They don't really have credit. They're not supposed to have credit, even though we're living on the Fed's credit. That's pretty much what the Fed note is, right? We're living on their credit. But until we have real lawful money, which is gold and silver. Right. But nonetheless, there is that process out there. It's called the Consumer Federal Regulations Board. So I'm saying that in case there's anybody out there and they're going through a foreclosure and they might, be looking for somebody to help them instead of getting burned in the courts or getting a lawyer to dig deep in their pockets. If they're already suffering, possibly going through a foreclosure, they might not have the funds to contact a lawyer, Right. And there's more information that's out there, but that little tidbit I didn't want to pass out there since you touched on the mortgage topic and for sure, try to help as many people as possible. Appreciate you. So that's basically it. And thank you, and have a great day. Thank you as well. It's good to hear from you. Appreciate you. Oh yes, very well. Thank you. Have a great one. Yeah, good stuff, man. Information out there from the community. All right, let's keep talking. Let me see here. I saw a question out there. TB says, what do you think? What do you do with the euro dollar or derivatives in this reset? Great question, TB. And so first thing that come to my mind is, as of right now, euro dollar, is not an actual physical piece of paper that has euro dollar on it. It's not an instrument. It's probably some numbers on a ledger that was created by the European bank system that the Federal Reserve probably or probably not has account of all those ledgers. So as of right now, there's no paper trail. There's no official paper trail, in my opinion, to anything associated with the euro dollars or derivatives. It's more so banks having digital ledger transaction promises to pay. I take this out, you take this out type transactions, where if the power goes down or the banking system goes kaput, I don't think any of those obligations to pay will be held against any of those banking institutions, because we're going to have a lot more problems than trying to figure out how to balance books out at that point. So I don't think where this is heading, euro dollars or derivatives, especially like the almost 2 quadrillion, because it's to me not knowing how all that stuff works in depth, it's confusion. So I'd imagine for those that are actually in that world, especially when it comes to the mortgage-backed security products that have been created, nobody knows who owns what, just because up until this point, they've never been questioned. So long story short, I don't think those things will be problematic beyond the currency events as well, just because, there are ledgers on somebody's balance sheet, man. But let me know what your thoughts are. Because when stuff really hits the fan, I don't think, the European banks, they got euro problems to concern themselves with. Because I would imagine they would be more concerned with making sure the euro itself for that region remains somewhat operational, so that it's not an outright, revolutionary style civil war where the people completely
burn everything down, because the euro itself, as is, it's the same situation as the Federal Reserve note is. When people realize that thing is not worth the paper it's printed on, if you got the paper, then I don't think they're gonna be concerned with any of those other products they've created. Says the euro dollar is as real as the Panama Papers, which is a possibility. And I've never, other than the information that we've been allowed to see, no doubt those Panama Papers, I don't think they're the full-fledged documentations. Everything we've seen is what they allowed us to see. So I'd imagine on the euro dollar side, the people who are responsible for how all that operates, they may know. But then again, as far as you and I don't think most people here are going to really care or be concerned with the euro dollars and how it operates and whatnot, because I don't think grocery store take euro dollars or even know what euro dollars actually are. So so this means dollars outside the U.S. So only thing I would imagine people will be concerned with are the actual physical paper units that exist in vaults, as well as in the savings accounts, as well as in the walls, because there's more Federal Reserve notes outside this country than in. And so I think those will probably be the primary focal point for the monetary system, or the financial system rather, just because at some point people going to want to spend them damn things. And so on the digital ledger side, that's a whole other ballgame I'm not well versed in. So I just know at some point all the paper just put out there has to make its way back home at some point. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's Frank from CP.
Frank, what's going on, my friend? Give me a quick thought.
What do you think about the metal prices lately? You think they're still going to suppress them, or you think they'll finally lose control?
Great question, man. So I haven't actually checked them lately, but since I got you on here, let me pop up silver and see what we got. We got $25, and so it's twofold. The number we look at on the screen and the number that we go by the spot price is one number, but the actual number that you probably will go to your local dealer or go online is completely different. So in my opinion, the premiums that you're going to pay has been a difference maker, to where, to me, an ounce is $30 plus right now, not $25. So I think that is more than enough of a sign that things are shifting, just because I think the supply side of actually getting the physical silver or gold or whatever it is you want is not as plentiful. And so I think the price divergence has already taken place, to where it's showing its head above ground, in my opinion. So it's positive for those that have been, wise enough to stack and brace for impact. So in my opinion, what do you think?
All right, let me throw something at you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all the banks, everybody's pushing gold. All you hear, federal banks, big banks, they're all accumulating gold.
Mm-hmm.
Every ounce of gold ever mined is still here, whether it's melted, it's the jewelry, it's the chips, or whatever.
Right.
All the silver that's ever mined is being depleted. We're heading into a silver era where you need silver for the technology where we're going.
Right.
All the silver ever mined is being used up, as you know.
Correct.
To make an ounce of silver, it's cost way more than what the price is at right now. To smelt it, to dig it up,
Yeah.
The price of silver is very, very, very undervalued.
Right.
I don't know why they want to keep it undervalued. I keep hearing the same thing, because your iPhone will cost more, or this or that. I don't know why they're so afraid of silver. You ever watch the old movies back in the days where silver killed Dracula, or killed,
yeah, the silver bullet.
Vampires who are afraid of silver.
The silver bullet, silver state, yeah.
Yeah, these same bloodsuckers are running stuff now. So they're very afraid of silver. They even used it in their movies a long time ago.
Yeah. You know what? To kind of share my 2 cents on that question as to why are they allowing silver to be suppressed for so long, is because, to me, it's the kryptonite to the monetary system, because it exposed what they've been trying to cover up for the last 100 years, give or take, as we've evolved off of gold and silver into all the products and stuff. that they don't want people to realize gold and silver as money ever again, because if they do, it'll keep them from pushing the agenda forward of going solely digital. And so if people start demanding silver, if our politicians who are now on board to make legal tender Bitcoin legal tender and digital assets, and we got the young lady from Wyoming talking about Bitcoin legal tender. What happened with just mentioning gold and silver are legal tender now and encouraging her constituents to get some now to protect yourself and then do Bitcoin or whatever else you want to do? Why not say gold and silver first, because it was and it is, rather than making Bitcoin and everything else our future? Like that's the compromise I was talking about earlier. Like don't say nothing about gold and silver, but talk about Bitcoin all the damn time. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Mike. Bitcoin is the biggest scam there is, and eventually it'll show. Just like Peter Schiff says, it's headed to zero. I mean, I can't understand how people would actually use their hard-earned money and buy digits on the screen. I mean, I know we're living in a time and day where, a lot of our stuff are with credit cards, the checking account has zeros on it, but you're actually paying just for a code. I mean, that's ridiculous. I can't believe that we've gotten to that point. And Bitcoin was created at the perfect time where a lot of that Bitcoin money would have went into gold.
Yeah,
we would see gold probably at $3,000 right now.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. How convenient. How blessed are we that Satoshi Nakamoto decided to save us with digits that we can't physically hold? But hey, man. But speaking of which, I want to bring to everybody's attention the today. Go ahead. Yeah.
One more thing. You got to really worry when there's governments. These governments and the Federal Reserve in the beginning, and all these governments were like, oh, we don't really like Bitcoin. We don't trust it. They're trying to put it down. That's sort of a reverse psychology.
Right.
That's a reverse psychology. You see them all switching now.
Right.
You got stars. You got movie actors, professional athletes all pushing Bitcoin. It's such a scam, man.
Hey.
You don't have to be too smart to see it.
Yeah. I would agree. But then again, for so long, majority of the population, well, all of the population we've been financially suppressed and oppressed to the point where the very thought of being able to disrupt the banks, how it was originally sold, was very appealing, because prior to it being taken over by the financial institutions and all the special interest groups, it was presented as being that, unbankable, unstoppable, yada, yada, yada. But that has changed in and of itself, because the big money now funds the operations and profiting the most from the mining side of things and all that other stuff. So once big money got in, they took it over, in my opinion. So it's not the same crypto space as it was.
Yeah. Well, you heard where it was created. The CIA, I heard there was a black paper or a white paper on it. It was invented by one of these big alphabet agencies, the CIA.
DARPA.
Had their hands in it and inventing it.
Yeah.
But
hey, man.
Shout out to LBP. I've been listening to your channel for a couple years now. So
appreciate you.
Low blood pressure, man.
LBP. Good stuff, man. Appreciate you calling in, my friend.
LBP. All right, thanks.
Be good.
All
right. So speaking of which, a good interview, just give you something to think about. David Morgan today, about an hour or two ago, did an interview with, so this right here. So he did an interview with the gentleman that has patents for creating social networking. And so he's basically saying that, Facebook and all these social networks, they stole his idea. And because of the compromised and corrupt court system, they basically screwed him out of his patents. So he has patents on technology that has not been honored in the court of law. Not surprising. And so from this, what I took, this is a follow-up interview, but the first interview, he talked about how, because the judges that saw his case had shares and had invested interest in all those same publicly traded companies, they basically took funds and didn't honor his patent law whatsoever. And so this piggybacks on other people who have patents out there. In the midst of a reset, when they're deliberately restructuring the world order, they're not going to honor your patents. That's just not happening, you know, or it's just not going to happen. But anyway, so in this interview here, I recommend you guys go check it out. It's a very detailed one. He did some research on this one, and he basically informed David Morgan of something that's called, as it's going to pop up here, dual underscore, where'd it go? Give me 1 second. And it's basically something, it's a backdoor that was mandatory in all firmware, software, hardware operations. And it was like a standard that governments made all publicly traded companies or something like that put into their code. And so he's saying that everything that you use, everything that's connected to the internet has a backdoor. It's like it has to have. And so that means that if the blockchain restructuring was introduced by DARPA is a government-funded military operation, and if they operate under the same type of stuff here, it's just a matter of time before it's a possibility that the code is able to be cracked. But anyway, look up this dual ECDRDBG, whatever, and it just talks about how, you know, having backdoors, says why public criticism including backdoor, yada yada yada. So he laid out a good case into some of the primary players that are in the blockchain space and how a part of the data collection and usage of your biometric metadata, your own body, how it's going to merge together. And it's patents out there. They've patented how they're going to basically have your body as a running node where they'll be able to, you know, use your energy, your kinetic energy that you move to power nodes, track and trace you from your actual bloodline. You know, so it's some sick, twisted stuff, but that's what's out there, and it's a patent. So that's what's interesting. So he gives more information. So I encourage you guys, check it out if you're interested. Hello, Carlos. Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Mike? It's Joe from PA.
Joe from PA. What's going on, my man?
I just wanted to get your take on two things.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is kind of out there, but anything's possible at this point. And the other one is just something about Russia. So the first thing is, do you believe there's reptilians? Like, do you believe in that stuff that you see in Iraq, all those ancient illustrations where they show humans?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Humans,
yes, I do.
Okay. So do you believe in the hologram technology, the crystals that, like, certain influential people today, and a lot of people that's on the foreign, what's that organization called? That
Council of Foreign Relations.
Right.
Yeah.
They're saying that they have people, they don't even realize it, but like a lot of these corporations, like McDonald's, they're basically like having people eat people, and it's not really cow meat. And a lot of the rich people, basically they was just saying that's all rigged. That, you know, thousands of years ago they said we were being ran by like these reptilians, and human beings were rioting when they were not treated properly. So they said these reptilians came up with, okay, we're going to put a human in charge because that would usually last longer. Like, in other words, they said human beings would tolerate more stuff from their own kind,
right,
rather than the reptilian coming out and ruling. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is this whole thing with Edward Snowden. Do you think that the whole thing is a psyop? Like, because I was thinking, like, he goes to Russia, so he can sort of like represent how he, quote unquote, got away,
right?
So, and they try to make it look like Russia is really like safe ground. Like, oh, if you have problems with the CIA or FBI, or you have problems with the government, you can go to Russia, like Steven Seagal did, basically. Like, you can go to Russia to avoid the corruption.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, that's what I was asking you. The second thing is, do you think it's all a psyop? Because it's like, I think that I put it to you like this: there's like one or two or three things. Either one is real and you can really go there to be saved, or it's just a psyop where they have that guy Edward Snowden there to put up a fallacy. So therefore, if you ever have some top secret information, and then you go to Russia thinking like, oh, I'm going to do whatever Snowden, I'm going to go to Russia.
Yeah.
But then before you know, when you go to Russia, you find out all the bankers are all together anyway, because there's been so many people who said that's not even the real Putin, and that was coming from his own ex-wife. So
right.
It's like the whole thing could be a psyop, like the whole Russia,
100%,
like the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like if that, because like at the end of the day, when you look at it, like there was some information coming out that how he got to Russia was suspect, because they were saying that he was trying to go someplace else, but then he ended up in Russia.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing him, I'm seeing him like everybody else. I'm seeing him on Joe Rogan, and it seems like to me they're trying to put the narrative out there like Edward Snowden is safe. Look, like this, like and almost like that's the playbook.
Right.
They were trying to like put out there to the masses, like, okay, if you have some information against the U.S. or whatever,
yeah,
this is what you do. I think, that's why I was asking you, like, do you think that's a fallacy where if someone tries to follow that playbook, it ain't gonna work out like it worked out for him?
Right.
But I'll let you go.
I'll answer that, man. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. I'll answer that. I appreciate you.
All right, peace.
Yep. Yeah, great stuff there all around. So yeah, so to both questions, yes and yes. And so as far as what's the different types of species that probably are in existence right now on this earth, I am more than convinced that just from the fallen angel and the demonic forces that are at work here, we know about the giants, the Nephilim, things mentioned in the Old Testament. So none of that stuff is going away. No doubt that mankind is still able to be possessed by demonic forces. It's good to say that it can take on some type of physical form and intermingle with humans, and things could come about that I wouldn't want to see in my lifetime. But I do believe that there are different types of creatures out there, just because other than what we've been told, what we've been allowed to see, which is bare minimum, there's a lot more that has been hidden from us. Our entire history has been whitewashed and things removed, such as a lot of things I put in Discord and the Telegram page about how Nikola Tesla, we already had free energy, but it was removed. We already had electrical cars 100 years ago, but they were removed. So everything we're experiencing now is being spun off to us as something new, but it's being spun off as something new for profit's sake, from the ownership of a very small few, where food is able to be sourced in abundance, but then again it's sourced through 6 or 7 primary food distributors and companies. So it's all about profit, it's all about control, and it's all heads toward that funnel where the goal is that there's going to be the haves and the have-nots, just two classes of people: the people who create stuff and the people who consume stuff. And even if you listen to the World Economic Forum's what's his name? Klaus Schwab's little flunky. He was basically saying that, the human race is going extinct just because most of the humans alive aren't needed anymore. Let me see if I can find out real quick. And speaking of which, here is another video that I put on the Telegram that talks about possibility of how far along science really is, to where, once again, we're only allowed to see certain things that fit the narrative that they want us to have. And so the possibility of people having clones as well as alter egos and things like that that's old, but it's becoming mainstream information now with people doing research like this. So this is a video out there. It's about a year or two old, but it just makes you think, because when you see how things are presented, and it's all satanic at its essence, but you'll be surprised at the amount of people who've compromised and sold their soul for fortune and fame. It's just that's nothing new. And so there's another video here that let me see here, that is quite interesting, because let me see, here we go. Yep, no. Yeah, so here, okay. No, let me find it. It's let me see here. It's on a Telegram. Let me see if I can find it. But anyway, it's and so I've actually watched a couple videos from this guy, just because, this is from Sean over at SGT, I think, but I'll put the guy up on here. And I would encourage you, if you are curious, take a look. Might be worth your time. If not, don't worry about it. But it's real, it's happening. And let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me see. Maybe not. I can't. But it's in the Discord page. And if you guys bother to go down on rabbit holes looking, man, you'll find it. But it's just stuff to make you think. And then once you put all that stuff together, it just makes you question everything. And that's ultimately the goal. Question everything, believe nothing, until it's verified in your spirit. Because ultimately, this all boils out to the spiritual essence of things. Like I always say, the Lord will confirm exactly what he wants you to know, when he wants you to know it, how he wants you to know it. And so in doing so, you'll be able to discern things a lot easier than the average Joe will, because most people are not even looking. And if they were to come across it out of fear, they will be afraid and they won't go any further, to where they'll try to ignore it. And it's hard to ignore stuff when it's coming for you. It's coming after you. You know what I'm saying? Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, Mike,
Steve, what's going on, my man?
Hey, you better believe that those things exist out there. Did you have a chance to look at that that George Knapp interview that was in that package?
I have not, as of now. Nope, I have not. I'm not gonna lie, I have not, due to time. And it's just whatever I unplug from here, I try to unplug as much as I can from all the other stuff as well. But give us the rundown.
Yeah. And matter of fact, the History Channel is coming out with a thing on May 3rd on Skinwalker Ranch, on the History Channel.
Yeah.
But anyway, basically George Knapp interviewed Bob Bigelow from, was it Bigelow Aerospace or whatever, the millionaire guy.
Yeah.
And he had his crew out there for years, testing and all the rest of that.
Yeah.
There were portals opening up, entities coming in and out. Wait till you see the interview. Maybe they'll have some of that stuff on on the History Channel, but those things are real. There's demonic forces doing whatever, and Skinwalker Ranch is the only place where there's portals coming in and out of our sphere, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I'm hearing you, listening. That's real talk, man.
Yeah. So when you have the opportunity to sit down and watch that, they show cows that were mutilated and all the rest of that type stuff.
Yeah.
Surgically precision with no blood left over and all the rest of that. But it's all in there.
Yeah.
The other thing is the bone pony.
Oh yeah, so I started, but I didn't finish it because that was an hour plus, so I have time. But give me the gist of it, like, because both throws out figures and times, and that's where come on, Bo, you know what I'm saying? You're in the vicinity, but you don't know the exact time and date for every damn thing. But anyway,
exactly like the commercial used to say, Bo knows.
Yeah.
And I guess Bo may not know.
Yeah.
It goes back to what you opened the show with, with the Trump and all the rest of that. Trust no man. I agree with that fully.
Yeah.
But Bo brought him up, and I thought I was listening to Q or something.
Really?
Yeah. He was talking about.
He coming back, huh? He coming back any moment now, huh? They're gonna resurrect his presidency, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was naming so many dates, so I couldn't keep them all in track. So people would just have to go back and watch the video from this. It was just from a day or so ago, but but it's in there from USA Watchdog.
Yeah.
Man. But that's about it. But yeah,
appreciate you, man.
Supernatural. It's gonna manifest even more.
Yeah, and I think within this decade we might end up being privileged enough to see some things, and hopefully your faith is strong enough so you can handle it, it'll flip your mind the other way, and you'll never be the same in a negative sense. So that's why it's good to be grounded in the truth right now. Find your truth. But anyway, man, appreciate you.
Absolutely, and that doesn't even include the ones that our government are doing. Did you know they're mixing humans with animals and all type of chimeras?
Yeah.
And, there are probably people locked in the basement, part horse, part man, or something.
Oh, no doubt. And I watched a video yesterday talking about some of the underground cities that they're discovering. Like, it's take of it what you may, but they're discovering underground cities beneath those biolabs where there's some mixtures of human race and animals and things that we could never ever imagine. And if that's partially true, then that right there changes the game, because they don't tell them what has gotten out, what's around, what's out there. So this stuff gets dark and dirty, man, because we know who's behind it. So it doesn't make sense whatsoever.
No doubt.
For sure, man. Well, hey, appreciate you.
I'm going to let you go.
All right, buddy. Be good. Thanks for the call.
All right, take care.
Yep. Yeah, this stuff stuff gets dark, man. It gets dark because mind you, it's demonic in its essence, man. It's woo. It is what it is. All right, and on the last note here, just some things I want to mention. These are things worth keeping tight. So, recall. So, think about. I'm not sure if these are current doses that were just released and sitting on pallets in a fridge somewhere, or these are doses that some of them might have already been utilized, and they've said contamination found. So contaminated with what? Yeah. So just you can't just oops and take those back. So you can't just take those back to the store and get a refund. Anyway, and then on another note here, this stuff right here is just atrocious, but it is what it is. Shanghai lockdown spurs race to stockpile food. So if there's one thing that we should learn from these headlines is the importance of making sure you have as much calories on deck as possible, just to help you get by, because you can't have enough to sustain your entire life, but just to get by. So I'm sure those people over there are learning a hard lesson. But I think back in November, I recall seeing articles where the Chinese government were telling people to, prepare, and they were actually starting to withhold things from leaving their country so that they would have enough for harsh times, which appears that like they might be on the horizon there. So, yeah, they're not alone. We're all going to share in the same type of circumstances at some point, I believe, just because we're all, 7 point, how many ever of us, we're all, under the same regime trying to end humanity. So, but anyway, enough of that. But be blessed, be safe. Back at it again tomorrow, Lord willing. And as always, for those that are plugged in, just definitely want to make sure we give honor where honor is due, and that's to our Lord and Savior, the King himself. And just end off with a little bit of prayer. So if you guys want to get in agreement with me, as always, love to connect with fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. And just there's power in numbers. So let's get in agreement and just let the Lord power do what he has to do. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather today on this Monday. We thank you for your grace and mercy that allowed us to make it to this point where people are able to join in unison with me right now, Lord, to lift up the name of Jesus. Father, we thank you for your power, your might, and your strength. We thank you for your spirit inside of us. And more importantly, Father, we thank you for the good news of your kingdom being here right now through the presence of your government within your spirit inside of each and every one of us, Lord. We just thank you in advance of what you're going to do this season, Father. We are in the month of April, and I am excited about this spring and summer and winter, Father, because I know you're going to show up mightily on my behalf, as well as those that are able to get in agreement with this prayer, Father. We just thank you in advance for blessing us, watching us, and keeping us. Allow us to be of use to you and your kingdom. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right, people. That's all she wrote. You know how we do it. Be blessed, be safe, and I will see you guys later. Peace.